Good evening, everyone. I am going to call our January 6th meeting to order. I want to give a big welcome to everyone to our brand new, beautiful town hall. Thank you all for joining us here. It is super exciting to have everyone here for this first meeting in the new town hall, and I hope you'll join us on January 23rd when we cut the ribbon and have a little celebration and party in honor of this event. Before we begin our meeting, as always, I'm going to ask you to silence your cell phones. Please make sure they are turned off and that there are not any little beeps and whatnot going to happen during the course of our meeting. We always begin our meeting with a moment of silence, and tonight we have a very special person we're going to honor tonight with our moment of silence, Mr. Jerry Johnson. He was a former Huntersville Public Works employee and firefighter who passed away last night. He was a leader in our Public Works Department for over 40 years and was heavily involved in the community streets and water infrastructure before retiring in 2000. We want to give our condolences to the Johnson family and all of Mr. Johnson's loved ones. So if you'll please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. And now, if you are able, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You will notice that our public comment and podium has moved to this side of the room. So if you are signed up to speak, please go to that side. Mr. Smith, announcements.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Just wanted to let everybody know about our upcoming MLK Day celebration. That'll be January 19th from 3 to 5 p.m. at the David B. Waymer Recreation Center. There will be light refreshments, a mobile museum experience with civil rights artifacts, and local speakers and performers honoring Dr. King's impact. And then also join us for our Black History Month celebration. That will be on Saturday, February 6th from 6 to 8 p.m. And that will also be at the David B. Waymer Recreation Center at 14008 Holbrooks Road. And that event will feature live performances and poetry readings from Drums for Life, Jay Ward, and Arsena Todd. And as the mayor mentioned, please join us for our town hall grand opening of this building right here in the boardroom on January 23rd at 10 a.m. We will have a ribbon cutting ceremony, some speakers, refreshments, and a viewing of the building. And that's all I had.
All right, Chief DeToley, I'm going to come to the podium.
How's everybody tonight? Thank you for having us. This is our very first award ceremony for the town fire department. So we're very happy to be here, and especially just be part of this great building, this first time in this boardroom. So tonight we got 4 different types of awards to give out, and we're going to bring up these gentlemen and firefighters that are here to celebrate not only what they've done for the town, but the saving of lives and our citizens. So a little bit about the first award. It's called the Company Citation. It's a unit citation to be awarded to members of a company or unit for actions that can result in significant mitigation of an incident or saving of a life, where the company performs in the face of extreme, extraordinary, or overwhelming circumstances. And for those who don't know what a company is, our firefighters ride with 3 people on a fire truck. So they work together, they train together, they're together there for 24 hours a day. So whatever happens, whatever type of incident comes in, that's considered the company that responds to your house, whether it be a CPR, whether it be a fire, or someone trapped. So that is the company citation. So when I read this off and I ask the members to come up here, these are the members that work together on that day that took care of the situation at hand. So if I could have these following members come up to the front. Assistant Chief Shane Nance, Battalion Chief Charles Alton Jr., Captain Chris Massey, Engineer Elijah Eastep, Firefighter Corey Logan, Acting Officer Terrell Washington Jr., Engineer Andrew Sales, and Kyle Potaje. These are the members that worked on an incident, and I'll read the incident to you, and you can also see it on the board. And this is why we're here to celebrate their accomplishment. On August 29, 2025, Huntersville Fire Station, no, the wrong one. Wrong one. On October 5th, 2025, Huntersville and Cordinas Fire Department were dispatched to report a house fire with people trapped at 9607 Rich Hatcher Road. Car 3 arrived a few minutes after dispatch and reported a working fire and assumed command. Car 5, Engine 1, and Ladder 4 were assigned to primary search and fire attack. A patient was found, and while keeping the fire in check, members of Car 5, Engine 1, and Ladder 4 extricated the patient and continued to fight the fire until extinguishment. For their actions, Car 5, Engine 1, and Ladder 4 are awarded a company citation. Without you guys showing up that day, this person doesn't make it to Christmas. This happened on October 5th, 2025, and for your actions, you're all awarded the company citations. If I could have you all just right against the wall, that'd be great. We're going to take you want a picture now, or do you want to do it together? Okay. Sure. If I could have Assistant Chief Jason Dyer, Lieutenant Ray Murphy, Brandon Johnson, and Firefighter Paul Medeiros come to the front, if you're here. On August 29, 2025, Huntersville Fire Station Number 3 was dispatched to 11038 Rocky Ford Club Road. Lieutenant Murphy and Firefighter Paul Medeiros breached the door of a mobile home that was completely involved in fire. Engineer John Johnson pumped the truck and pulled the second line to the door. While performing his search, Lieutenant Murphy located one person occupant on a bed in high heat smoke environment, struggling to breathe and unresponsive. Lieutenant Murphy pulled the person to the floor. Due to the person's size, Lieutenant Murphy realized that he needed assistance and yelled for Firefighter Medeiros. As Chief Dyer approached the home, Lieutenant Murphy and Firefighter Medeiros stated that he was agonal breathing and unresponsive. Chief Dyer cut the victim's shirt off, checked for vital signs, and told Engineer Johnson to set the pump and get oxygen in a bag to start patient care. Engineer Johnson started patient care and Charlotte units arrived too. Lieutenant Murphy and Medeiros operated in heavy smoke and high heat conditions to extricate the patient. And Engineer Johnson started life-saving patient care intervention while operating the apparatus. Due to their actions, the patient made a full recovery. He was released from the hospital. He thanked Fire Station 3's crew for saving his life. And for these actions, your company is rewarded the company citation also. And without your actions, this person would have never made it to Christmas also. This happened on August 29, 2025. Thank you. I'll put you over here. If you can stay up here, Paul and Murphy. So the next award is, we call the Chief's Medal of Valor. The criteria for this is the Chief's Medal of Valor may be awarded to any member who is directly responsible for the saving of a life in the action that places the member at extraordinary personnel risk. When the member conspicuously disregards his or her own personal safety in the performance of his or her duty. So the award that was just given out, you heard it, he went inside, he found an unresponsive person, they experienced high heat situation. It's very rare that this kind of situation happens. Most people's homes, when it catches on fire, you're running out. These gentlemen ran in. but this is the job that they've trained for. The training, the discipline, everything they have, the valor and the courage is what we're here to celebrate tonight. And the biggest reason we're here is because they saved the citizen. And without them being on duty, without the support of the town board, giving them the equipment that they need, again, we saved a life, and that's what we're here for. So it is my honor to give you the Chief's Medal of Valor to both of you. Thanks, guys. Acting Officer Terrell Washington, Battalion Chief Charles Alton Jr., Engineer Andrew Sales, if you're here, Firefighter Kyle Potochar, Firefighter Corey Logan, and Captain Chris Massey, if you're here. Again, guys, you received the company citation. That's just a part of it. But if it wasn't for you and the training that you put through and the hard work and dedication you give to this town, being on duty from holidays to every other weekend, and staying here for 24 hours, being away from your family, the life of somebody doesn't get saved. And we thank you for your courage and your discipline and your valor and everything else that a firefighter, you represent the town when you wear those patches on your arm. So I'd like to, again, share the Medal of Valor with each one of you, and it's from the Huntersville Fire Department, myself, and the rest of this town. Thank you very much. We'll get the names straightened out. If we could we get the both departments' Medal of Valor winners up front? We'll take one group shot, and then we'll do the same thing with the company citation. We'll end this award ceremony. Take care of that. Do you want one of all the company citation people? Or you good? Okay, we'll do this side. If anybody has received the award, if you go outside, we're going to take a group shot. Thank you. Thank you again.
Surprise thing. That's a surprise thing. I'll let everybody get settled before I proceed with our unexpected item on the agenda. Bobby Williams, can you please come up here? For those of you that don't know, this is Assistant Town Manager Bobby Williams. He was the project manager for the construction of this town hall and led every detail and every element in this successful construction of this building. And so we are so happy to present you with a little rendering of our town hall that you were instrumental in making come to life. And I know it's not quite all the way done yet, and some of us may have made it a little difficult for you along the way with things that we wanted changed, but we are so grateful for you and all that you did to make this come to fruition, and I can't wait for everyone to see the rest of this beautiful building. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
We're on to our public comments. We first have Gatewood Campbell. You have 3 minutes. Oh, I'm sorry. I lied. You have 6 minutes. I can read.
Good evening. My name is Gatewood Campbell. I'm thrilled to be here in this building tonight, our building. This is indeed what the Downtown Planning Steering Committee voted for. That citizen-led committee worked hard, and it is exciting to see something we dreamed of come true. I'm also here about the changes to public comment that were discussed at the last meeting. For those who don't know what I'm talking about, there was a consent agenda item removing citizens' ability to yield their own public comment time to another resident. Currently, a resident can have up to 2 people yield their time to them. This has the potential to turn a 3-minute speech into 9. Some topics deserve that. Commissioner Quarles spoke to the agenda item and noted that commissioners can't respond to what we say. While that is true, it is no different than us not being able to respond to all of you. You are not limited to 3 minutes to voice your opinion. You have all the time you want and can discuss with each other. We have one chance to get in front of you and the public, and limiting that to 3 minutes is simply wrong. It was noted that this board has an open door policy and you are responsive. I'm here to tell you that's false. As stated by our mayor, you should not respond to me in writing unless you want it shared. I have sent many emails which have no response. I know many others in this room, including my husband, who have sent emails without response. We have one chance and at most 9 minutes for you to listen to us. I'm not sure how this is going to pan out, given there was a court ruling the same day you were going to vote. But quite simply, you cannot say you listen and also limit our speech at the same time. Those are polar opposites. The last board, 5 of you up here now, seem to stay focused on limiting and also removing residents' input and opportunities for us to be heard. It's been stated that you do give opportunities for residents to be involved, but I have a question for you. Do you actually listen to us and follow our recommendations? Tonight, you are going to consider putting the building next door on the market, a building that was vital to the master plan for Town Hall. A beautiful courtyard seamlessly joined the 2 town-owned properties. In fact, you cannot even access 101 Huntersville Concord Road without going through this lot. We, the residents, and a committee that I served on, including 2 that are in this room tonight, told you what we want. If you are going to say that you give us the opportunity to speak, then listen. If you vote to list that property, then you aren't listening. You cannot say you listen and put that building up for sale. Prove me wrong. Listen to us. Do not limit our speech, and do not put 101 Huntersville Concord Road up for sale. And I'm not going to stand up here without saying that I'm still waiting for the apology that I'm due.
Johnny Campbell, you have 3 minutes.
Johnny Campbell, lifetime Huntersville resident. Last town board meeting, I stood here and asked for a public apology. Not only have I not received an apology, I've not even got a response, and I'm very disappointed. I wish I could say I was surprised, but I'm not. But that's not why I'm here tonight. The reason I'm here tonight is because of this fantastic new town hall building. This is the result of a ton of hard work. Countless hours of meetings, be they with staff, architects, or the community. I watched as the plans went back and forth, changed and evolved. Somebody remind me, is this 3A or 4B, or was all that just a nightmare? This new town hall is forever the legacy of not just the board, but every town member who participated in those meetings. It's also largely due to my wife. She filed a FOIA on the lot that we're sitting on right now and found that it was indeed available and not tied up with a developer as we were all misled to believe. She deserves not only an apology, but also a thank you, because that information changed everything and made this building in this location possible. Now, I said this new town hall is the legacy of the board. It's just not of this current board. It was the hard work of 7 completely different people, and I would like to thank them now for their hard work. Commissioner Dan Boone, Commissioner Amber Kovacs, Commissioner Rob Kidwell, Commissioner Derek Partee, Commissioner Lance Munger, Mayor Pro Tem Stacy Phillips, and Mayor Melinda Bells. This is your legacy. You did this. I thank you. Be proud of this accomplishment. You represented your community well. Thank you.
John Foster, you have 3 minutes.
Good evening. First of all, I'd like to just thank the board and the town staff for getting us to where we are here tonight. Job well done. I'm here to ask the staff and the board to consider, when you look at Huntersville and you look at all the other towns in Mecklenburg County in our area, there's still one major area that we are way behind on. I would like for you all to seriously consider looking at developing, buying, renovating a facility to be a cultural facility for the town of Huntersville. When we look at all the towns in the area, we are the only town in the area, second largest population in the county, I believe, that does not have a culture facility for our citizens. That's not right. We are sending our people to Charlotte, Cornelius, Davidson, and Mooresville to take part in culture activity. We also are missing money opportunities for people coming here to enjoy culture activity. If I want to listen to jazz, I have to go to Charlotte. If I want to see a play, I got to go to Charlotte or either to Cornelius or Davidson. I seriously challenge the board and the staff to help us locate, or you all locate, a facility that we can provide for our citizens to have an opportunity to bring their friends, take their family, their kids, for we can have culture activities in our town. It would help the restaurants, it would help the hotels, it's win-win for everyone. Too many people that we have in this town that's missing out on culture activities in our town. We can do better, we will do better, and let's build or buy or remodel a facility that can rival what we are looking at here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Elaine Kearns, you have 3 minutes.
Good evening. Hi, I'm Elaine Kearns. I'm so glad you recognize Bobby for his work. Bobby, you're awesome. Is he still here, or did he escape? Oh, okay. As a member of the Downtown Planning Steering Committee, I strongly urge you to not rush to judgment before holding any vote associated with our former town hall. As was discussed many times during our planning meetings, the most successful small downtowns have charming and unique businesses, spaces, and features that draw people to gather, dine, and shop there, as opposed to simply driving through it to get to another destination. The availability of the former town hall presents a golden opportunity to help transform our downtown. Unique shops and eateries that would normally not be affordable for entrepreneurs to open on their own, an arts and craft business, a cultural center perhaps, community meetings and event spaces. I envision a wedding invitation that says, "We're going to the town hall to tie the knot. Please join us." Reception following at the neighborhood cafe, 760, the Corkscrew, etc. The demand for these venues is here. The space is absolutely charming with this circular-like boardroom. Selling the former town hall brings a huge unknown for the next 5, 10, 20 years from now into perpetuity. Please don't be short-sighted, driven by the dollar amount it could bring, we're not desperate for the funds, or have a failure of imagination of what protecting our former town hall can mean for our downtown. The ink has barely dried on the new town hall's certificate of occupancy. Why are you having this vote tonight to ensure the former town hall can be sold? I was told it was to set a hearing about a possible sale and to gauge public interest. But a hearing's already set in the consent agenda, and our process doesn't allow for public discussion during the vote. Even if it's truly a technicality and doesn't mean it will ultimately be sold, this is too soon. What's the rush? We need to adhere to the downtown plan and fully explore the possibilities. Please remove item 9B from tonight's agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. Robert Kearns, you have 3 minutes.
Hi, I'm Robert Kearns. Lived here my whole life. I'm at 301 Hillcrest Drive, right over here in Greenfield Park. I grew up at 204 Old Statesville Road, right across from the Presbyterian Church. So I've spent most of my time here. I've traveled some. I've seen some things. I love this town, and I think we can do better. I've seen cities all over the world. One thing they have a downtown park. They have trees. They don't cut down every tree they've ever seen. But I digress. Congratulations on the recent election, and welcome new board members, and welcome to your new town hall. Now, speaking of town hall, as my wife said, I really don't think we should get rid of the old one. I think it has some really good uses. I think it gives the town a sense of place. It's our main square. We need to get people down here. Right now, most people are just moving through. Not very well, I have to admit, because of our transportation. But I would like to see that used as something positive and bring people down, give them kind of a sense of place. My grandparents owned the piece of land that building sits on back in the 1930s. And my grandmother would come and get rent for it. There used to be a gas station there, but that goes on. I could tell you more. Okay. So we want to use that for public uses and to create a sense of place. Are we as town citizens? Question is, are we as town citizens, through our representatives, going to control Huntersville's destiny, or are we going to let developers keep steering the ship? Are we going to create the town we desire and deserve? In our master plans, because I've seen them, we said walkable, bikeable, and even talked about having a pedestrian mall on Maxwell Street, I think. I don't see any of those things have happened. Instead, I do think developers are kind of driving the ship here. I've seen the planning process. Usually there's a retreat. We hire some consultants. We ask for public opinion. A master plan is then developed, which we then ignore and let the developer have their way anyway. All right. I read we had a new tagline for the town, and it says, "Thrive here." We paid a consultant. I'm sure there was some money. I don't know what it costs per word. Thrive here? That's what you got? How about, we never met a development we didn't like? That was my first thought. No, that's kind of negative. How about no tree left behind? Considering our tree canopy and open space, I don't see that going the right direction either. I'd like you to think about those things and see if we can make a turn toward the better. The final one I came up with, Huntersville can't get there from here. Also, 2 wrongs don't make a right, but 3 rights do make a left. You know what I'm talking about? You can't drive directly anywhere anymore, okay? We can do a little bit of that. I know some of that is Department of Transportation, and some of it involves maybe state legislature. Thank you for allowing me to make some comments. Again, I'm very much in favor of maintaining that building.
Thanks, Robert.
I
Your
think it
time
has
is
some
up.
really good uses for us still. Thank you.
We are on to item number 7, agenda changes, adoption of the agenda. Do we have a motion to amend the agenda?
Madam Mayor, I make the motion to remove item 8D from the consent agenda.
And is there a second?
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. And now may I have a motion to adopt the amended agenda?
I make a motion to adopt the amended agenda.
And is there a second?
A second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. And now may I have a motion to adopt the consent agenda?
I make the motion to adopt consent agenda.
And is there a second?
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. We're on to public hearing 9A. Conduct a public hearing on petition R25-12, a request by Carver Bowman LLC to revise the existing approved rezoning R22-05.
Good evening, Brian Richards for the planning staff. At this time, we'd like to enter our staff report to the record. Many of us are familiar with the Oak Grove Hill project. It's located here near Beatty's Ford and Mount Holly Hunters Road. This is actually the 3rd revision for this project. Originally, it was approved in 2018 with revisions in 22 and 23, and we've got a 3rd revision here tonight in 2025. We're asking, the developers are requesting a reduction in connectivity. Typically, that's something we don't allow, but there are some environmental impacts that would be caused by that leg that's it's being proposed to be removed if you guys do approve that. So there will be some positive environmental aspects to gain back as opposed to typically connectivity. There is going to be some reduction of tree canopy preservation area. We're swapping a lot of lands. It's a lot of moving parts here, so I'll be brief but thorough as we go through this. They are looking for an increase in density of 1 unit. The home that was located next to the heritage tree would be for sale as opposed to community property moving forward. And overall, there's an increase in open space. You can see here the existing plan on the left shows that there are 2 connections from west to east. The applicant is requesting that the northern connection be removed, so we just have that connection to the south. You guys can see there. We have some changes in the open space provisions. Again, all of these are going above and beyond all of our standards. You can see some more changes in the canopy preservation as well. Lot sizes will be adjusted as well due to some market conditions and some things that the developer's trying to introduce a different type of product than what's out there today. And this came to us last night, so I'm not 100% up to snuff on this, but you can see there is actually an increase in the total overall open space for the development. There's about 14.93 acres out there currently. If the rezoning is amended, then we would be at 15.5, so a slight increase there. The developer is asking for some modifications. One of those is to use the previously adopted tree survey standards. Of course, earlier this year, we adopted some new tree survey standards. They want to use the ones that were previously done. Again, as this area has already been surveyed, I think we're going to be comfortable with that moving forward. Also, some canopy preservation requirements. They're going to be getting into some root areas, but with proper techniques with arborists, we can make sure those trees are saved, and some buffer requirements as well. You can see up to the north, staff is going to recommend that we use the current buffer standards as part of the request for the modification for this project as well. You can see here on the left is the currently approved urban open space with the heritage tree right next to that label US1. You can see the existing home that's now going to be for sale is going to stay there and remain, so there won't be any land disturbance. But again, that lot is now for sale as opposed to being part of the urban open space. And this is where you get the reduction of the urban open space, but in the end, we're going to get common open space as part of the trading. So an overall increase in open space, just the types are changing. You can see here they will be requesting a block length waiver along the road to the south. Staff is in favor of that. Overall, again, there's high-level comments. We're looking to modify the tree survey requirements. We're going to keep the heritage tree. And then there's some notes as well for transportation that will be addressed with NCDOT and CDOT, as well as the town's engineering staff. And that's it for me. Mr. Bowman is here, and I'm here if you guys have any questions as well.
Does anyone have questions for staff? Commissioner Quarles?
Can you go back to the screen where you have the current and existing, proposed?
Sure.
One, I see Carver Street on the existing,
Correct.
and they're requesting to remove Carver Street.
They're requesting to move that connection, correct? That's on the north side. That would connect to Carver that goes out to Beatties Ford Road. So there'll be a more circuitous way to navigate the neighborhood, which in the end would probably eliminate some cut-through traffic.
And looking at this, the existing appears that the lots are larger,
Correct.
and they're making them small to add more homes.
One additional unit. Things are getting rearranged. Mr. Bowman can speak a little bit more about the geometry of those things.
Okay, because I counted 4 to 5 on the R2205 and 51 homes on the other one. Is that correct?
Yeah, you want to come?
Nate Bowman, good evening, 205 South Church Street. I counted them again today because this project has gone through so many changes, but we're eliminating those lots on the stream crossing, and we're just adding the one house back that is now going to be rehabbed instead of torn down or used as a clubhouse or something. We just decided it would be better to go ahead and put a homeowner in that.
So you say you're eliminating, but what I see here,
The 5 lots where the stream crossing is, they're gone. I mean,
So these lots,
yeah.
is Larry drawn?
But it was 51, and now it's 51 plus 1, the existing house.
okay. Because I'm focusing on infrastructure, the Dewey Road, or the road that goes out, the road that goes out to Mount Holly Huntersville Road, do you have a plan when you do this project? Do you have a plan on infrastructure first, or you're going to be doing certain portions of this and then adding infrastructure?
Sure. So the process is that the street infrastructure has to be installed first. Then a plat is recorded that would create the lots. Then a bond is recorded as well for the finishing touches that need to be done with that road as well. And then the homes can be built. So before a house goes vertical, this road infrastructure will be built and open.
Okay. Yeah, because my concern is, again, because I live on Beatties Ford Road, and I drove by just this morning, I looked at Carver Road, that right there is a concern. Just
Sure. You can still get
eliminate
to
it.
Carver, it's just a little more circuitous way.
Okay. Okay.
Commissioner Walsh?
Just a question on the tree survey. I was a little unclear. There's an old tree survey. You do
Sure.
or do not want a new tree survey?
We have requested one. They're
Okay.
asking for a modification to use the old standards, which would not require an additional tree survey.
But the staff is asking for a tree survey?
Sure.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
In the end, the trees are all going to stay, so.
Yes, the number of specimen trees on site is 83, and we're required to save 10%, and we're providing 51%. We're saving almost half of them.
Thank you.
I have a question about some previous developments you've been working on. I know you're finishing up, I think, some stuff in Vermillion, everything with the roads. There's been some roads that have been, haven't been fully completed. for a few years, and so I was hoping do you have a timeline on when you'd have those wrapped up before you'd start
I
this?
talked to Anthony Roberts today. We're in process of doing all of that, have hired the contractor, and he will have a schedule by Friday.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Go ahead, Commissioner Quarles.
Just went back to my notes. Another concern is LU 6.1. This is a mixed-use area. Would you consider putting some commercial in this community?
When we had the first neighborhood meeting for Oak Grove Hill, Phase 1 and Phase 2, it was very controversial. And they were arguing about any development, period, because of the traffic. So I was pointed not in that direction from the very beginning. And we went from a packed house to our last neighborhood meeting was only attended by Nick Walsh. I think what the citizens are concerned about are getting that road connection. And that's our primary focus in trying to get this development going.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, are we ready for a motion? Oh, wait, we're a public hearing. Sorry.
All good.
I was ready to move along. All right, that concludes our public hearing. Thank you. That's
Mayor,
right,
just
keep
to
going.
confirm, were there any public comments for this?
Oh, there are public comments, yes. We'll start with Lisa Fisher. You have 3 minutes.
My name's Lisa Fisher. I live at 9120 Westminster Drive in Huntersville. Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and Commissioners, and thank you for the opportunity to listen to what I've got to say. I'm here tonight to share my concerns about the absence of a road leading from the Oak Hill development to Mount Holly Huntersville Road, as we were told there would be before the development was initially approved. I understand that the plan now is to complete Phase 2 of the development and only construct a road in a different location when Phase 3 is developed. We were never notified of any public hearing that you referred to change anything. He told me before this meeting that he had to send out letters that had to be signed, return receipt. We never received anything. If we had known, we would have been here. I was at the first meeting he referred to. The absence of this road originally as planned and the additional construction and residential traffic will further stress our existing neighborhood streets. This afternoon, I walked on Westminster Drive and counted 10 potholes between Mount Holly Huntersville Road and Kent Avenue. They ranged in size from 6 to 23 inches wide. I have pictures if you'd like to see them. I've lived in Westminster Park for 35 years, since 1989, and I've never seen this much deterioration of the street in this short a period of time. Neighbors of all ages walk through our neighborhood, and given that there are no sidewalks, added traffic could endanger pedestrians. Even with the speed humps that were installed a few years ago, cars still use Westminster Drive as a cut-through to and from Beatty's Ford Road, often exceeding the speed limit. And I've frequently seen speeders going in both directions end up on the wrong side of the road as they make that hairpin curve on Westminster. There are signs at the entrances of our neighborhood from Mount Holly Huntersville Road at Wedgewood, Westminster, and Shields that say no construction traffic, and we greatly appreciate that. I'd like to know who's monitoring this, though, and what's the consequence if they don't follow the rules. While these signs have possibly averted some construction traffic coming into the neighborhood from Mount Holly Huntersville Road, they continue to use Westminster to exit the project. I know this because I and other neighbors have personally seen them. I'm not aware that there's a no construction traffic sign at the end of Pembroke, but if not, that would be very helpful. What I'm asking on behalf of my neighborhood and my neighbors is that you include the construction of the road from the Oak Hill subdivision to Mount Holly Huntersville Road in Phase 2 of the project instead of Phase 3, as it was originally approved, for the safety of our neighbors and the preservation of our neighborhood streets. Thank you.
Thank you. John Huber, you have 3 minutes.
Good evening. I'm John Huber, and I guess one of the first things I have to question is this. You just received information on this this today, and so I don't know how I could review any of this prior to making comment. So there's supposed to be more information on the subdivision that you got yesterday or this evening, or, I didn't get it, I didn't see it online. So, but my first comment is on Mount Holly Huntersville Road, I just question where that entrance is going to be put, and what is the impact going to be at the Beatties Ford Road and Mount Holly Huntersville Road, since that already backs up all the way past Westminster. So in the future, to get in or out, then most people are going to probably go to Westminster Drive and use the cut through so that they can utilize that, as opposed to having a good entrance. Because right now, on the other side of the road, you're building a new, in city of Charlotte, they're building a new, I guess it's a assisted living facility and a lake that's right next to the Masonic Lodge and to the St. Mark's. So I guess my question is has anybody engineered or looked at that at all on both sides of the coin, whether it be from town of Huntersville and the city of Charlotte, and how that's going to impact this whole area? I don't think anybody has, because nobody's given me a straight answer. So that's one of the first questions. But the other thing is, in the first phase, some of the things that up there by where Pembroke meets Overhill, I just have a question about that T intersection. Only one side of the road has curb and gutter, and the other side of the road doesn't. Well, the grade, by my grade and what I look, that water's going to come across that grade that's on that road. And I know gentlemen talked to me about it, that it is that the DOT doesn't want any water on the road. Well, that's an impossibility, but if you're going to let it go and shed across that road and go into another man's yard and everything and damage his property, I don't think that's a good attribute of a design for the public to accept. That's just what I think. But other than that, I think that the property itself just is in a location that is going to be difficult, because the development of all four corners at Beatties Ford Road and Mount Holly Huntersville is in the works, and it's been a long time for any of this to occur. And I would like to see better cooperation between the town of Huntersville and the city of Charlotte in how that the traffic pattern and all these things work out. So that's my only one. Thank you.
Thank you. Renee Story. And is Laura White here? Can you wave? Okay. All right, thank you. You have 6 minutes.
Thank you. I wasn't really prepared to speak tonight, so nothing fancy here. But I'm Renee Story. I live at 8801 Mercia Avenue in Westminster Park. I've lived there off and on for 50 years. A little sad to see all the development that's happening. But as the First Lady said, we were not made aware of any type of hearings or anything until I got something in the mail the other day. So nothing on the previous phases. And my mother, who lives next door, didn't receive anything either. Or, we would have been here as well. But one of the big questions that I have, so the development, the phase, I guess 1s and 3 back up immediately to two sides of my property. And I'm wondering for the road that is Cherry Bark Oak, I believe, where it dead ends, if there's going to be some type of fence put up there between the new development and our properties. The property that we have is extremely wooded, and first of all, it's not going to be very aesthetically pleasing to the new neighborhood to see that, but it is also probably semi-dangerous. There's a lot of coyotes that live in there, honestly, which, could be dangerous to others, and I just don't want people wandering onto our property and getting hurt, and then, trying to make us liable for that. And I, as well, am concerned about the traffic. As the others have stated, when we left today, you couldn't get out of our neighborhood going towards Beatties Ford because the traffic was already backed up to Shields. So it would be advantageous to have those roads in place before they do begin actually building the homes. So, thank you.
Thank you. Joe Sailors, you have 3 minutes.
Joe Sailors, 9332 Westminster Drive. I was surprised by something Brian said earlier, that the street going, can I make this a pointer?
Joe, I think you can draw on the screen.
I can draw on the screen? All right. This road, I can't draw on this screen. Can you draw on yours? That road is being taken away. In the new phase for this new piece of property, and Brian just made the statement 10 minutes ago. The reason that road is being taken away is to not allow cut-through traffic through phase one. Guess where that cut-through traffic is going now and has been going since he started this project? Because he did not sell the original developer phase two, which was supposed to be the road going out to Mount Holly Huntersville Road, and that was why phase one was approved, period. But when contractor went bankrupt and he decided to sell that property to another contractor, it ended up not getting the road parcel coming out to Mount Holly Huntersville Road, which is, if you go, Brian, can you go to this page? No,
They're not the same.
this page.
They're not the same. This is not my report. This is a presentation.
Okay. Oh, go back.
That map is the same.
No, go back one more. No, sorry. My point being is, originally there was a phase one, a phase two, and a phase three. Phase three was to be the road going out to Mount Holly Huntersville Road. And that is why phase one and phase two was originally approved by this board. He has since come back to the board 3 times now, changing things around to the point that he's no longer putting the road in that was supposed to be put in with phase one and two. He's now moving that road north up Mount Holly Huntersville Road, away from the south boundary of the property, almost on top of the other road that's already there, John Houston or whatever the name of Puckett Road. And that is going to be too close.
Mr. Sailors, your time is up.
Sorry about that.
Thank you. Amy Curtis, you have 3 minutes.
Hi there, I'm Amy Curtis. I live at 9220 Wedgewood Drive. I've been in the neighborhood since 2017 and I love our neighborhood. I got my mom and my sister to move in. I just find our neighborhood to be amazing, and if you've never been, I hope you come. Well, some of the board members, it looks like actually a lot of you are new since we first talked about this project back in 2019. If you guys go through our minutes, I think Mr. Bowman got to it. We were pretty opposed to this neighborhood. We worked really hard to make improvements. I'm sure that he wouldn't call them improvements necessarily, but they were improvements to us that made this a neighborhood that we could kind of live with. One of the biggest was that road to Mount Holly Huntersville, and then also not connecting to Pembroke. Let's see. I will say that we were so opposed that I don't know how the announcement went, and I think it was certified mail, but none of us got it. And I think that the fact that no one was here kind of speaks to that, because we were so passionate about this project. But Anyway, the original proposed, or I guess this is another revision to it, of the two roads, and that being removed, all we heard during our first phase of this was connectivity, 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 and we just heard him speak to the fact that this takes away from the connectivity that is so important, apparently, to Huntersville. But by removing that road, you are sending traffic, more traffic through our neighborhoods, as we've talked about. People have said we've got more potholes, et cetera. That is not a very convenient way in or out of that neighborhood. And we really would like to see at least the two roads. I think ideally we'd like to see what was originally proposed, which is that road that was a little south of this. Understand the plans have changed, but the new proposal is not at all connectivity, and it really does impact our neighborhood. We have children that learn to ride their bikes. We have people walking every day. Phyllis walks her dog every day. And you know, quite frankly, I feel like when I go to this neighborhood, that these people might walk in our neighborhood too. That's how special our neighborhood is. Let's see. I also don't recall, I think you mentioned that there's some positive environmental changes to this new plan, but honestly, I don't recall there ever being any concern with the environmental impact of this neighborhood during the original proposal. So I just feel like that's buzzwords, to be perfectly honest, and we love environment. We've got nature preserves behind our house, but I don't think removing this road for environmental purposes is worth pursuing. Let's see. I think, to reiterate what was already said, I know that we're limited based on Charlotte versus Huntersville, but Mount Holly Huntersville Road in general, understanding what the plans are for the traffic on that road that's already terrible, I think is really important. And there needs to be some communications between the town and the city, or at least the county, on what can be done there. So I'm out of time. Thank you.
Thank you. Phyllis Meaton, you have 3 minutes.
Hi, good evening. Phyllis Meaton, 9416 Wedgewood Drive. I'm not sick. I have major surgery in a week, so I don't want the germs, but I am so passionate about this in my neighborhood. That's why I'm here tonight, and I appreciate your time. Again, no one in our neighborhood was told of any of these revisions that were coming up or meetings where we could vote on them, because we would have come out in force. We love our neighborhood. We don't want any more traffic coming through there than is already there. We feel that Mr. Bowman, looking at the town report, as far as the buffers are considered, they want the buffers to be done by the original code on the original phase 1. I don't think that that's fair, because a lot of things have happened since then. Codes have changed. I don't think the buffers should be retrofitted to what the neighborhood is going to be. Another on the buffer, that there was some likely sewer involvement on some of the areas that were to be planted. So the developers asked that they not be planted because there's likely that will be removed at some future point. Well, until they can give us what time that is, I don't think that that's fair to say not planted because something else is coming along. Again, the traffic on Mount Holly Huntersville is very busy. We do not want any more traffic being filtered through Pembroke, down Wedgewood, through Westminster Park. We really need a large road and at least 2, if not 3, entrances on Mount Holly Huntersville Road. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Donnie Woodard, you have 3 minutes.
Good evening. Thank you for having us and listening to us. My name is Donnie Woodard. I live at 9121 Westminster. I live across the street from the Fishers, so I see the construction traffic that's not supposed to be there that goes by my house every day because I work from home. What I'm concerned with is this new proposed revision. Not only does it take out the road, which everyone has commented on, but Commissioner Quarles was astute in seeing that the lot sizes are seem to be a lot smaller. And that was one of the big things that we fought against the first time that the project had come about. And what my concern is now is that this is not going to be the end, and this is just a test because most of you are new. I think Commissioner Walsh was the only commissioner that was on the original at the time that we were that we came out in force. So I know that the comment that no one came out to any of the revision hearings is kind of a straw man argument, because if we had known, believe me, we would have been here. The last vote, we had almost every person in our neighborhood at that meeting, and they said that was probably one of the biggest meetings that they've had on in the old building. So I know that we are passionate about this project, and we know we don't want this to impact our neighborhood and give us yet another hurdle to overcome. We already don't have walkable sidewalks, so we have to walk in the streets when we walk our neighborhood. And the increased traffic, not only with the construction, but with the new properties, with the new homes, it's inevitable that they're going to use Westminster and Wedgwood as cut throughs. It's just and that's what we fought against the first time. We ultimately lost that battle. And we, I know that most of you were not part of that. So, we're not holding you to those old standards, but we would appreciate if you would just take a second look and not just give the developer carte blanche and taking over yet another neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Bill Weir, you have 3 minutes.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, Town of Huntersville. Thanks for having us. Just want to say we have a very nice meeting hall. Oftentimes people in charge of spending other people's money being cheap, confused with serving the mission, and that didn't happen here. The mission's very well served, and our AV guy is excellent. This is a very smooth meeting. We can hear everything. This is a very visible project, so it was handled very well. You all know what our concerns in our neighborhood are about this project and the rezoning. I'm not going to rehash what's already been very well stated by my neighbors. What I'm going to address is what I see as a much larger civic concern overall, and that is, what's the town being run for? What's the objective here? Is it to uphold and preserve the quality of life for those of us who have lived here all our lives? Or is it for the benefit of the few deep-pocketed developers that have also decided to call Huntersville home? Who exactly is it that you're working for here? I also got no notice of any of the prior public hearings, and I don't see how you can call it a public hearing if we're not notified of it. All I can say is that we have fought certain aspects of this project contentiously since its inception. We're not against people being able to sell their property and profit from it. That's what happens in our country. We understand that there's development that's going to go on. All we've asked for is respect, and we've not been given it. So all I can tell you is the only tool that we have left here is to make that disrespect and the process that's been shoved down our throats as visible as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That concludes our public comments. Does the board have any more questions for staff or the applicant? Okay, thank you. We will go to item 9B, conduct a public hearing on the designation of town-owned property, parcels 019031115 and 019031116. Ms. Loop?
Yes, good evening, Board. As you may recall, the board previously directed staff to issue or advertise, I should say, a request for proposals on the development of the old town hall and the adjacent parking parcel. Staff has since advertised the RFP, and we did receive a response. If the town would like to move forward on being able to potentially, not certainty, but potentially utilize the economic disposal method in order to sell this property, we need to first designate the property as being held for resale for economic development purposes. And this is merely a procedural step. If the town does decide to actually sell the property, there will have to be a second public hearing, and at that time, you all will consider a purchase agreement to sell the property, and all of the specific terms of the purchase agreement would be discussed at that time. I do want to point out also that if you designate the property as being held for resale for economic development purposes, you do not actually have to move forward with the sale through that method. There are other options should you choose. However, the benefit of utilizing the economic development statute for disposal is that the town can impose restrictions on the disposal, meaning that you can restrict the property's use for a certain number of years, and you can add other conditions that you would not be able to add as conditions if you used, for example, the upset bid process, the sealed bid process, or a public auction. I'm happy to answer any questions, but that is the gist of why we are considering designating the property as being held for resale tonight.
Board, do you have any questions?
We use that same process with 760, is that correct?
Correct,
Okay.
we did.
And we did 7 years with that?
I believe that is correct, yes.
Okay, I'm putting you on the spot, sorry.
Ms. Luba, in the, you were mentioning that we can put restrictions on this. One element of that we could do is say that we would want it to be used for commercial purposes versus turned into a dentist office or whatever. Is that correct?
Yes, so you have the ability in the deed restrictions to say, for example, that you want it to only be used for food and beverage purposes, so that's a commercial use. Or you could say a certain percentage of the square footage would be used for certain purposes. You have the discretion on how you craft those deed restrictions. And also, I would highly suggest that you include some language that the property convert back to the town, a reversionary clause, if the deed restrictions are violated.
Any other questions?
So just to reiterate, if the deed restrictions are unfavorable, we can vote no.
I believe your question is asking if we have some terms that are suggested by the developer that are not amenable to the board at the second public hearing afterwards, when the item is up for consideration, can the board vote no? And the answer is yes. You are not locking yourselves into voting yes just by designating the property as being held for resale tonight.
Thanks for translating. I forgot my second question, but thanks for the translation.
Mr. Roberts?
Yeah, I was just going to make sure we're clear. Emily, so item 8B, which is on the consent agenda, actually would be if the board moves forward with the action items tonight under 10A, would ultimately move to a contract phase that will come back to the board on January 20th, which would, I guess, spell out some of the details and questions that you went over and/or Mayor Pro Tem Hunt and the mayor mentioned earlier. Is that correct?
Yes, there is the second step that will be on the 20th. We would have another public hearing, which would allow for public comments, similar to tonight. And then the board has the opportunity to consider the actual contract and its terms. We will, well, it's anticipated that we will have a slide to display that highlights most of the major terms on the screen as it's being discussed.
With the actual, I guess I will just follow up just to be clear, make sure everybody understands. will the contract itself, I know the answer, will the contract itself be on the January 20th agenda?
Yes, it's anticipated that it will be. However, we can hold the public hearing and have the contract at the next meeting or 2 meetings away. But the direction, I believe, was to allow everyone to comment on the night that it is actually being discussed. So having them on the same night.
And I'm going to just reiterate this one more time, is by doing this process tonight, by designating the town-owned property for economic development, that does not obligate us to actually sell the property. It just puts those conditions that we would like to have so that we can make sure that would it be sold in the future, it would have what we actually wanted it to be, correct?
So actually, what this does is it allows you to use a specific disposal method. So usually, as far as what are the most common methods of disposal, when you aren't including restrictions on the property, it's going to be the upset bid process, sealed bid process, and auction process. But again, those processes don't let you include restrictions as this would. If you want to have a private sale, but with restrictions giving you more control over what the language of the document of conveyance says, this is an opportunity to do that. But because this property was not originally purchased for economic development, it was instead purchased for a governmental purpose, a town hall, we need to designate it first as being held for resale for economic development if you potentially, again, potentially want to sell the property under that statutory authority.
Mr. Roberts, in the public comments, we had lots of comment about designating that for public purpose. Were this building to be sold for commercial use, is there other spaces available for public use?
Yes.
Are there?
So ultimately, you'll see in the, I guess it's the Parks and Rec, there's been some comment about programming space, rentable space, et cetera. In the, I guess it's the 2030 plan, Park and Rec Master Plan sort of addresses some of that. And sort of an overall bigger picture, I think they're looking for 44,000 square feet roughly in the 2030 Park and Rec Master Plan. And there are multiple things that would address it. Now remember, recreational, programmable, meeting space, et cetera. That facility over there, if we were to keep it, would be programmable space. Probably not going to play basketball in it. We'd have maybe arts and crafts. You may have Park and Rec may rent it out, have senior cards. I'm making up stuff here, but those kind of things. It's roughly 8,000 square feet. Kind of depends on what, whether you look at Polaris, et cetera. So how would we potentially make up that 8,000 square feet somewhere else? Ultimately, and I'm getting back to the master plan, the 2030 master plan, of roughly 44,000 square feet needed by then. The new elementary schools coming on, Lake Norman Charter Elementary School, we would do a joint use agreement. That would be roughly 10,000 square feet. We do that all over town with all the schools. That would represent 10,000 square feet. And then in the CIP in fiscal year 28, we have the expansion of the Huntersville Rec Center. That would be roughly 24,000 square feet. But just specifically to get at the town hall space, roughly 8,000 square feet. Obviously, we have moved everyone out of the third floor at Town Center above DPK. That's more than 8,000 square feet. We will have some fire administration offices in a small portion of that, but there's more than 8,000 square feet. It's closer to 10 to 12,000 square feet there that can be programmable just like this facility here. So that is an option, obviously, for this board to consider. We've already met with MJ on some of those spaces. We'll be looking at, obviously, we just moved out of the building, so we will be looking to dispose of some of the additional furniture, et cetera. I'm getting in a little more detail, but the short version is that 8,000 here can be made up somewhere else. And I'm not even talking about the elementary school, not even talking about the expansion of the rec center. That's just getting at the overall master plan. But just if you want to focus on 8,000 there, can be made up and then some on the third floor of DPK or Town Center. That is an option.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Hunt?
If we do use the old town hall space for some type of town event or programmable space, what type of renovations would we need to do? I know it's kind of a hard question to answer because we don't know necessarily what we would use it for, but if you could just kind of
The
speak.
guy in the back room, he may run out of here. But I see someone from Edifice here, but ultimately, we had set aside about $1.5 million to potentially do some upgrades there. Obviously, I don't know if the 1.5 million is enough. There's roof, HVAC, plumbing, things like that. That was just a placeholder to do upfits there. Obviously, we couldn't do a whole lot of work there because we just moved over here. But some of the layouts of the plans there, we had 2 or 3 plans, if I recall, of the layout of the inside of that building to use for programming. We were probably not going to have, unfortunately, I wasn't going to get married a second time over there. But a lot of arts, crafts, things like that. MJ can probably comment further on what type uses, but we also, I did not mention, just to carry a little bit further, we do have space in this building also. The second floor room on that side of the building that has a lot of overflow chairs in now is roughly 3,000, maybe a little more than 3,000 square feet that we have not planned on using yet, but that's something that obviously we can. We have other usable spaces in here that we could rent out to. I would say look at Cornelius, just because I was there. They have a big room there that they sort of rent out on their bottom floor. Big, if you're facing the front left side, so things like that could happen. They program that space, they rent it out for HOA meetings, but it's not free. You gotta remember, you gotta have people here, somebody's gotta let people in at night, somebody's gotta be here, you gotta clean it, just like anything else. So no different than the other facilities that we have, that we may rent out, like Dalewood, et cetera. So we have other spaces that I did not mention, just because we just got in here, we haven't, sort of thought through all those different things. So ramble to give you a lot of information, you can digest it and ask any questions you like.
Based on what you said, I think this could be a golden opportunity to transform our downtown. If we have additional space that we could use, we should be focusing, we said we're going to revitalize our downtown. This is a great opportunity where we can help our small businesses, the business trying to come into our downtown, something that's going to bring some traffic, bring some life to our downtown. We can, like Mr. Foster said earlier, we need places where we can have some culture. You talked about other public spaces. You name a boatload of places that we can have for public spaces. So I personally think this would be a great opportunity to help our small businesses and to help shape our downtown.
Any other questions?
One other thing that's kind of changed my mind on all this was that right now, the city owns 3/4 of the 4 corners of downtown, and 5 o'clock they're closed up. And I would like to see something that would revitalize downtown and brings people here after 5 o'clock and wants to bring more people here for a community.
Commissioner Walsh?
I had a question for Ms. Sloop. You mentioned the deed restriction for 7 years, for instance. What happens after that 7 years? Is it still slated for economic development?
So the deed restrictions would sunset after the restriction period. However, only the uses that the property has been zoned for is what it could actually be used for without going through a rezoning process. So, Brian could speak to that in terms of what those by right uses are if they were to try to change the use, but they would have to go through a rezoning if they wanted to do something that is not currently allowed by the ordinance.
Thank you.
So I couldn't turn that into an apartment complex on year 7 and start over.
Brian?
They could, as long as whatever rules were in place at the time were met. If you were to build one building, one lot, multifamily, that would be allowed today.
I would say that may be tough, and the only reason I say that because there are a lot of cross parking easements that would be required if this were to move forward and a use were to come before this board that you like in the contract. So that may muddy I would say may muddy the water for something like that to come back. Because there are a lot of things that would have to be worked out. I mean, like I say, there's only an exit out there. There's only so many parking spaces. So it would get complicated, I guess is what I would say.
I would
I would agree with
also add to that, not only would we, as part of any purchase agreement, require cross-parking, cross-access, and cross-driveway easements for both the old town hall and the new town hall, but the developer, if they sink in, let's say, $1 million, $2 million to upfit the property, and they are locked in for 7 years, it's not as likely that they would then change the use after a significant investment to upfit the property for the use that they are requesting. So that's something to also consider. I'm not saying that that's 100% or that it would never happen, but they are proposing, I believe, if memory serves, to include some upgrades to the building in the neighborhood. Anthony, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was somewhere around 1.5 to 2 million. I could be speaking off the cuff in that regard, but I know that they were proposing some improvements.
Yeah, it would be significant improvements, no different than what we would have to do if the board decides to move forward with town space. It will be significant upfits, upgrades.
Emily, is there a cap on the number of years that we can have a deed restriction on the property? Or a restriction?
You could increase it from 7 years. I mean, you wouldn't want to say 100 years or something along those lines, because that would cause the property to be devalued significantly. So it has to be within reason. You could maybe get by with maybe 15 years. That would be reasonable. You may be stretching it if you go past that amount.
Okay, thank you.
So all those restrictions tend to devalue the property. So the more you clamp down on the property and say, you can only do just like a brewery, or you can only do a restaurant. So when you buy that, you're investing in that and you're locked in for that amount of time. And so that devalues property. Same thing as if you take away parking, or if you only have one entrance or one exit. All those things, when the property is appraised, typically has impact on the property. And it did on this property, because we have, we have entrance, small parking on the property and things like that. So if this moves forward, if the board moves it forward to some type of contract that would come forward, you will see that there will be some devaluing in the property. You will be able to put restrictions on it. If it's further, that they may say, we can't go past 7. Those kind of things is stuff that y'all will talk about and determine, and it may not go anywhere. It's kind of up to you and the uses too. There are proposed uses that would be good for downtown if it moves forward, but that's something the board will have to decide.
Also, I would point out that I believe that the current appraisal is based on a proposal of 7 years. So their offer price is the appraised value, considering what has been proposed thus far. They would likely need to get an entirely new appraisal if you attempted to increase the restrictions.
That's right. We did our own appraisal. So ultimately, if a contract comes forward, it would be based on sort of the restrictions on the building, et cetera. And then, I don't want to take, someone else's appraisal from their appraiser, because it may not be. We would use our appraiser to revalue the property and bring that forward.
Anthony, when we did the appraisal for this proposed situation, did we say that there would be a restriction of 7 years, or we did? Okay.
Yeah, from the proposal that we received, I asked our appraiser to take a look at that and determine the value. And it's an appraiser that we've used on all the properties sort of in the downtown area, because we wanted to use someone who has kind of valued the properties, the Cashins of the world, et cetera. So someone that we've used a lot to go in. We literally would take the proposal and say, here's a proposal, here's a property. We may, you can see in front of you how some of the lot lines lay out by Polaris. We would shrink some of that property and a majority of that property would come over to the town hall property. You know, maybe I'm just, don't pay attention to this line, but let's just say that's the line. That property north may move to this property here. So all of that affects value. So those are things you'll be looking at if this moves forward to make a determination on. And I'm sure you're going to have many questions if we get to that stage.
All right, any other questions?
Can you just go back and reiterate what the RFP process was, like how all of that worked? Because it was a while ago.
So we had asked for proposals on this particular, basically that. Even though they're two individual parcels, the parking kind of goes on with the town hall. So to just sell the building with no parking probably doesn't work. Nobody's going to buy a building, you can't park anything. So ultimately, we put proposals out. Don't ask me the dates, and I can have all that next meeting, but I don't have it in front of me right now. And I think Bobby was heavily involved in that, sending that out. And we actually got one proposal back on this. Multiple folks have called, entities that we know that looked at the grass strip across, in front of DPK. One proposal came back, and ultimately, from there, that proposal sort of, some conversations went about with staff to see how you could get that to a point where we could potentially bring something to the board. And so ultimately, the process that we're going through is to bring something back to the board to consider. But there was only one proposal that sort of made it to, I would say, the finish line to bring to the board.
And this process of putting an RFP request out for what we call the old town hall now, that's wonderful, was initiated at our board retreat in, I believe, February of last year, right? When we kind of did a head nod and said, let's consider getting proposals for this. Is that, am I remembering that correctly?
We did the same thing on the, I'm going to call it the grass strip. It's not the appropriate name. And you may wonder, good gosh, why is it taking so long? There we had, as digging into it, we had restrictions on the parking deck. So it was, there were restrictions with DPK. You just remember we came back with DPK and re-upped their lease and made a lot of modifications that sort of cleared some of the parking restrictions. So probably even though a year's gone by, we are now free to go back out on that piece of property because we freed up some of the restrictions. So you'll probably hear me, not probably, you will hear me say, okay, Mayor and Board, at the retreat, we have cleared up a lot of those things that were hindrance on that property to be able to make it attractive. We're ready to go back out and see what we could receive on that. But yes, very similar process there, but there were some restrictions that kind of tied our hands to be able to do something with that grass strip over there that we will go through a process similar to this if the board sees fit again. But that is a process it went through.
Any other questions? All right, we have one public comment. Amy Hallman, and I see my pal Emerson is here, so you have 6 minutes.
Here, and I am only speaking for myself tonight, although I'm sure there are plenty of people that want to know who they is. We do know who one of the RFPs was, but I think that's where a lot of the unrest is with residents, is not knowing any of those details, and that is important. My question would be, would the contract from a buyer, is that what we're going to discuss in 2 weeks? That sounds like yes. That doesn't sound like we're putting together a sales plan. We're putting together whether or not you guys want to accept somebody's offer. And I think that that's problematic for residents because we haven't heard a thing about what somebody else wants there. All the additional space that Anthony is talking about is great, but we're at 70,000 population right now, and all we've heard in the last several years is how we are burning towards 120. We're going to need more than 8,000. We're going to need more than a little bit of room in this building and a little bit of room in that building. We need more room because we're going to explode. as far as population. If they don't like our appraisal, they don't have to buy it, because you're in the driver's seat right now. You guys are in the driver's seat this week. Now, in 2 weeks, you might give that seat up, but right now you're in it. The one piece of appraisal he hadn't talked about, that red line you all like. That red line is going to make property values soar. Not this week, not in 2 weeks, but in a few years. And a piece of real estate is an asset. It is not a liability. So it is time to figure that out. Not just say, oh, it can get us a couple $1 million. Granted, a couple $1 million is a lot of money, but not in the scheme of a red line and a master downtown plan. The only required thing they have to do at this point in town center is build 2 stories. So they could potentially, I guess, sit on enough to be able to go vertical after those 7 years. And I would imagine somebody astute enough would probably do so. They could prepare to go vertical. The comments I've received from people on my email about this, gets me really worked up, and I apologize, are indicating that the board is actually is interested in selling. This isn't necessarily the hypothetical that we're hearing right now. I hope that's not the case. I really do, because one of my resolutions was to be able to work together better, and I'm really, really wanting to do that. First, we understand it is our job as residents. I want to say this in response to something earlier. It's our responsibility to stay informed, and whether or not you like our input, I take the job very seriously of being informed, and so they don't need to fuss at you about that. You're doing all the communication you can. So the focus on calling this a procedural point, but also calling it another public hearing on a sale in 2 weeks, that's what's bothersome to residents. Maybe you want to clarify that with the specifics. Who are we selling to? What's the plan? Why do we like it so much? You already know from emails that I'm against selling the former town hall, that I support the downtown master plan to upfit it and use it as community space for residents and small businesses. The movable wall partitions, renovated kitchen, history space, and the connecting courtyard are evidence. And when Mr. Foster walked in here talking about a cultural center, to me that was a slam dunk. That should have been it right there. You're sitting in this building because the board 2 boards ago listened to us. And then you guys, most of you listened in the last time. That's why you're here in this beautiful, beautiful building, because you did listen to residents. So please listen. A yes vote tonight will make the value of the last and 4th corner that you do not own out of reach. And yes, a yes vote tonight will also put the last significant downtown historic property that Anthony didn't mention, the Holbrook House that is on the same block, in grave danger. The developer buys both and it's gone. You can stop that now. You won't be able to stop that then. And it all comes to now. Selling it now seems like a short-term solution at best. The majority of this board is pro-red line, and good for us, which if it's coming, it won't be here in just 10 years, not to its full term. There's absolutely nothing wrong with hanging on to real estate for its appreciation and value. It's not a liability, it's an asset, and you do have to take care of it and maintain it, but this property, for its location alone, is going to continue to increase in value greatly. In 1992, that property you're talking about potentially selling was bought for $60,000. That was only 30 years ago. In 1995, that little parking lot parcel was paid $121,500. Immediately, within 3 years, see the demand increase that value just for the parking lot? Currently, the value of the 2 parcels is $2.2 million. I know you're smarter than that. For those of you saying that it's going to be expensive to operate and maintain, please look at the big picture. What is the maintenance figure? How do you even know if we haven't even talked about what could go in there? Are we doing this too fast? Kannapolis, the city of Kannapolis, bought its downtown properties because they wanted to control what went there and how. They didn't worry about owning 3 corners. They owned it all. They owned acres. Don't treat this building like a hot potato. $3 to $4 million sale is small money for a town of our size. It's not chump change, but we're trying to play in the big leagues here. And we need to not be simple. We just need to not be. Don't forget about the value multiplier that red line is going to bring to downtown property. Are you going to roll that dice now and gamble on all the variables, or are you going to have a cooler head approach to still developing downtown, but be in the driver's seat instead. Mr. Foster's Cultural Center is a perfect fit. He has told us all the reasons why we need more culture in Huntersville. And this would not be unlike DPK or even our maintenance of the Aquatic Center, because we do that. But if you do, please make it a condition that it's commercial retail only, not mixed use, not vertical mixed use, not horizontal mixed use. That detail matters. This really does matter. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Do you have any further questions for the town manager, town attorney, town staff? All right, then we can conclude our public hearing. And move on to item 10A, consider adopting a resolution to designate town-owned property as being held for resale. Ms. Loop.
Yeah, so I will not reiterate everything that was just discussed, but the only point I will point out one more time is that this does not lock the town board into selling the property. It's just a procedural point that needs to be taken care of if you want to use that particular disposal method.
Any other questions? Okay, do we have a motion for item 10A?
I make a motion to approve a resolution for designating town-owned property resale located at 101 Huntersville Concord Road and the adjacent parking parcel.
And is there a second?
I second.
Any discussion?
Yes. Tonight, we take another important step toward fulfilling our commitment to downtown revitalization and making Huntersville a great place to thrive. The sale of the old town hall building will result in approximately $3 million savings for the town. That figure includes both the proceeds from the sale and the avoided cost of upfitting the facility for future government use. The reality is people don't come downtown on a Friday night to see a government building. And while a community center may sound appealing in theory, the truth is it would spend much of its time underutilized. Instead, this board is choosing a direction that will help draw people into our downtown by encouraging vibrant retail, dining, and activity-generated uses that support a thriving local economy. In addition, once this property is privately owned, it will be producing tax revenue rather than maintaining another government facility with ongoing maintenance costs borne by the taxpayers. This decision reflects responsible stewardship of public resources and a clear focus on the long-term success and vitality of downtown Huntersville.
Any other discussion? Okay, Commissioner Rivers.
Commissioner Walsh, I greatly appreciate your statement in regards to economic development and the growth of the town of Huntersville and creating a more conducive and a place where people can thrive here. Small businesses, I know Commissioner Quarles brought that up as well, ensuring that our small business owners have opportunities. However, I do understand the importance of the Downtown Steering Committee at the time when things were being discussed in regards to revitalizing the downtown area. Not to say that I am against the economic development and economic growth. However, I do think that there definitely needs to be more conversation and public input in regards to what we do with our downtown. That was the reason for creating the Downtown Steering Committee in the beginning. So therefore, tonight, I cannot sit and say that I can be in favor of this. I think that we need more time, and I think that we do need maybe to go back to revisiting the steering committee and having more public input in regards to what our downtown will look like. And that is just my thoughts this evening.
Any other discussion? All right, all those in favor? Commissioner Hunt?
Yeah, all I was going to say was, to me, this is still just information gathering. We haven't determined anything yet. We haven't made any decisions yet. We're still negotiating terms, correct? So to me, this is not, we have made a decision. I'm looking you in your face and telling you have not made a decision.
Any other discussion? All right. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay. Commissioner Smallwood, Commissioner Quarles, Commissioner Hunt, Commissioner Walsh, and Commissioner Cornett in favor, and Commissioner Rivers opposed. And we'll move on to item 10B, consider appointing one member to the Parks and Rec Commission due to non-acceptance of appointment. Mr. Jacobs.
Good evening. Yes, we do have one opening for a full 3-year term that will expire in March of 2029, and we have 5 applicants.
All right. Commissioner Cornett, your nomination.
I nominate Robert Nyberger.
Commissioner Hunt.
Same.
Commissioner Quarles.
Lucy Robinson.
Commissioner Rivers.
Lucy Robinson.
Commissioner Smallwood.
Robert Nyberger.
Commissioner Walsh.
Robert Nyberger.
Okay, the majority of the nominations are for Robert Nyberger, so I do have a motion to appoint Robert Nyberger to the Parks and Recreation Commission.
I would like to make the motion that we approve and accept Robert Nyberger as a part of our Parks and Recreation Commission.
Is there,
Yes.
is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Just thank Mr. Nyberger for being willing to volunteer. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? And the motion carries unanimously. Item number 11, closing comments. Commissioner Cornell, I'll start with you.
Just like to thank everybody who've put so much work in to make this beautiful building happen. This is great, and I appreciate everybody's candid discussion tonight.
Commissioner Walsh.
I think I closed out our last meeting by saying that was our last meeting in the other building after being in it for many years, and it's certainly a pleasure to be in this one. And I certainly want to pass along my thanks, not only to Bobby, but Anthony, Jackie, everybody else who worked so hard to put this building on the map, so to speak. And it's a pleasure to sit up here. And as much as I love y'all, it's nice to have a little elbow room.
Commissioner Rivers.
Well, first and foremost, Happy New Year. I'm still Thanksgiving. Guess I'm hungry, but no. Again, I just kind of want to piggyback off of the moment of silence. Mr. Johnson was not only a pillar to the town of Huntersville, but he was a pillar to the Pottstown community, and one of my uncle's dearest and longest and his best friend, his brother. And so to have grown up with Mr. Johnson as being one of my mentors, I'm blessed to have known him and have had him in my life. And again, this is really hard for not just the town of Huntersville, but for the Pottstown community. And again, my prayers are with the Johnson family, who is my family. So continue to just keep them lifted up in prayer. And again, thank you all so much. And again, Happy New Year.
Mayor Pro Tem Hunt.
Yeah, I just want to wish everybody a happy new year. Welcome to 2026. And thank you to staff for all of your hard work for making all of this come together today. I'm so excited for you to be working in this new space, and I'm excited to be working here with you. Thank you.
Commissioner Quarles.
Happy New Year's, Bobby. I told you you need your bib on because I want to salute you for a job well done. Each time we walk through here, you were really orchestrating the direction of this wonderful facility. So again, job well done. I also want to say, excuse me, that the Veteran Service Office opened on yesterday in this building, and she's ready to rock and roll. So if you know a veteran in Huntersville, Cornelius Davis, or North Charlotte, please just have them come here to meet with the Veteran Service Office. It is going to be a game changer. Once those benefits are being filed, it's going to be another form of economic development for our Lake Norman area. And lastly, I know the announcement was earlier this afternoon. On January 19th at 3:00 p.m., the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. celebration. Last year was phenomenal. We set the bar extremely high. If you want to see someone that looked like Dr. King, or if you want to hear someone that sounds like Dr. King, if you want to hear some good singing, you want to hear youth orchestra, you want to hear Hopewell High School Band playing jazz, this is the place to be on January 19th. So I cordially invite you as well as others to come out to the David B. Wayman Center at 3 o'clock p.m. on January 19th. It's an event that everyone want to see. It's so much to where we're going to be on WBTV doing an interview on Thursday because they want to get the word out of how wonderful it was on last year.
Commissioner Smallwood.
Yes, I just wanted to say Happy New Year to everyone, and thank you, staff and Bobby. This building is incredible, and I really do appreciate everyone that came out tonight and for their public comments. Thank you.
All right, item number 12, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
I second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? And we are adjourned. Thank you very much for joining us for our first meeting in the new town.